You ever stop and think about how much information we're bombarded with every single day?
It's kind of crazy when you actually try to quantify it.
Seriously.
Mm.
Like the average person is dealing with something like 34 gigabytes of data daily.
34 gigabytes.
34, it's like reading 174 newspapers front to back every single day.
Wow. That puts things in perspective. That's a lot of information to process.
It really is. And to make it even wilder, it's like 5 times what folks were dealing with back in, say, 1986.
No wonder people feel overwhelmed. It's not just a feeling, it's a fact. We're dealing with information overload.
Exactly. And it's not just some harmless inconvenience either. This overload is leading to some pretty serious consequences. People are feeling exhausted, drained, just mentally wiped out by the constant influx. Information exhaustion, some are calling it.
Right, and it's like our attention spans are shrinking. We're so bombarded that we can't seem to focus on anything for too long. And then there's that nagging feeling like we're missing something important, like we can't keep up.
It's like our attention itself has become this precious, limited resource. And that's really at the heart of what we're diving into today, this idea that we need a better way to manage, well, everything.
Absolutely. We need strategies, systems, something to help us navigate this flood of information. And that's where the concept of building a second brain comes into play. It's all about creating a personal knowledge management system that works for you.
And that's what we're calling the learner. You're someone who's eager to learn, who wants to dive deep into topics, but you don't want to get bogged down by the sheer volume of information out there.
Right. You want to be efficient, effective, and not feel overwhelmed by the process.
Exactly. And that's where our deep dive comes in. We've got some really interesting material to explore today. We'll be pulling insights from Tiago Forte's book, Building a Second Brain, which, by the way, was originally titled Criando Segundo Cérebro in Portuguese.
Interesting. We'll also be looking at this thesis, Special Effects, Compositing Images in the Bodies of Buto by Michael Hamblo.
And we'll be adding another layer to the mix by exploring some thoughts on Buto dance from Sadler's Wells, along with some striking images related to it.
Now, you might be thinking, what on earth does Buto dance have to do with building a second brain? At first glance, they seem worlds apart, right?
They do. But that's what makes this deep dive so exciting. Our mission today is to unpack the core principles of building a second brain and discover how those principles surprisingly resonate with something seemingly as different as Buto dance.
It's all about exploring how we manage and externalize knowledge, regardless of the field or form it takes.
So let's get started. First things first, what exactly is a second brain?
Well, the concept actually has roots going back to the 1990s. It emerged as a way to help university students deal with, you guessed it, information overload. Specifically, the explosion of information available through online libraries back then.
So it's like the personal version of what companies do with their massive knowledge management systems.
Precisely. But instead of an organization trying to manage its collective knowledge, a second brain is about you, the individual, taking control of your own learning and insights.
And the benefits, as our source tells us, are pretty remarkable. You can find information faster, anything you've encountered, thought about, or accessed, almost like having a super-powered search engine for your brain.
It's not just about finding things, though. A second brain also helps you structure your knowledge in a way that supports your projects and goals. You capture those brilliant ideas so you're not constantly reinventing the wheel.
Right, and there's something about connecting ideas from different areas of your life, seeing those patterns and connections that you might have otherwise missed. It's like having this incredible mental map constantly evolving as you learn and grow.
I love that, a mental map.
Ah.
And, it also helps build confidence, right? Knowing you have a system, a backup, it frees you up to share your work more freely, to collaborate, even to just relax and recharge, knowing you're not going to lose those important details.
It's like that peace of mind knowing that even if you forget something, it's safe, it's stored, it's waiting for you to rediscover it. Less time frantically searching, more time for, well, everything else.
Our source also talks about this really neat metaphor, the bicycle for the mind. It's an idea Steve Jobs used to describe the potential of computers, and it's so fitting here. A bicycle doesn't replace your legs, it enhances them, allows you to go further, faster.
It's like saying technology, when used effectively, isn't just a passive tool, it can actually amplify our thinking abilities. Like imagine all the amazing places you can go when your mind has a bicycle to help it along.
So to put it simply, a second brain is like this digital archive of your most valuable memories, ideas, and knowledge, all there to support your work, your projects, your life. No need to keep everything crammed in your biological memory. You've got a backup.
Like having a personal searchable library of your own insights. You can pull up just what you need when you need it. Amazing.
And it's fascinating how this core concept has popped up under different names throughout history. You've got personal cloud, field notes, external brain. Then there's the Zettelkasten method, which is German for notebox. It was a big part of how the sociologist Niklas Luhmann was so incredibly productive.
Right. And who can forget Vannevar Bush's Memex, this visionary concept from decades ago? And there's even the idea of a digital garden, a term used by Mark Bernstein, a software developer.
It just goes to show you this need to organize and manage personal knowledge. It's not new, and it's not limited to any one field. It's a universal human thing.
And our source really drives this point home. It's not just for academics or tech-savvy folks. Students, professionals, entrepreneurs, anyone who's feeling that information overload and wants a better way to handle it can benefit from a second brain.
And sometimes it's personal experiences that really drive home the power of these ideas. Our author shares a story about how he started using digital records to manage his own health. It was about taking charge, becoming proactive.
It's about recognizing that knowledge is power, right? And it applies to our personal lives as much as our professional ones.
Absolutely. And he also talks about how his note-taking completely changed his trajectory in college. He went from being an average student to graduating with honors, all because he started taking more effective notes.
Wow, that's quite a transformation.
It really is. And then he talks about his time in the Peace Corps in Ukraine. He was teaching English in a very resource-limited environment.
So how did the second brain idea help him there?
Well, he had to be really resourceful. He used his system to gather and organize lesson plans, exercises, examples, all from different sources. It helped him be a more effective teacher despite the challenges.
That's a great example of how these techniques can be adapted to all sorts of situations.
And it's interesting how something as simple as informal lunch discussions can evolve into something much bigger. He started with these chats, they turned into book clubs, then workshops, and eventually paid courses. It just goes to show you the ripple effect of knowledge sharing.
And all of this brings us back to that initial point. We're swimming in information, like literally drowning in it. Remember that figure? 34 gigabytes per day, the equivalent of 174 newspapers.
It's mind-boggling. And the irony is, all this information isn't necessarily making us smarter or more capable. In fact, it often feels quite the opposite.
Like we're losing the ability to focus, to think deeply. Our attention is becoming this scarce commodity. It's what some experts are calling attention poverty.
And that's the key takeaway. Simply having more access to information isn't the answer. We need to change how we think about technology and information itself.
So how do we do that? How do we shift our thinking?
Well, one way is to look to the past, to see how people dealt with similar challenges before the digital age. Our source talks about the tradition of commonplace books.
Commonplace books.
Yeah, it's a practice that goes back centuries. Think Leonardo da Vinci, Virginia Woolf, John Locke, Octavia Butler. These brilliant minds across different fields, they all kept these personal notebooks.
Like a pre-digital second brain.
Exactly. They would jot down insightful thoughts, quotes, observations, anything that resonated with them from their reading or their own lives. It was a way to curate their own personal collection of knowledge.
It's amazing to think that this desire to capture and organize valuable information is something that connects us across time. Like, it's a deeply human thing.
Absolutely. And that leads us to one of the first superpowers of a second brain, as our source calls them, materializing our ideas.
Materializing.
Yeah, it's about getting those thoughts out of our heads and into some tangible form. It's only when we externalize them, give them a physical presence, that we can really think clearly and work with them effectively.
It makes sense. Like, if you try to keep everything in your head, it's easy to get overwhelmed, lost in the jumble.
Our source uses this great analogy. Think about James Watson and Francis Crick, the guys who discovered the structure of DNA.
Oh yeah, the double helix.
Right. They built physical models to help them visualize and understand the complex structure. They were literally playing with cardboard cutouts to represent the molecules.
Wow, I never thought of it like that. So it was that hands-on physical process that helped them make this groundbreaking discovery.
Exactly. It wasn't just pure mental gymnastics, it was thinking made physical. And while traditional notebooks still have their place, digital notes within a second brain offer some major advantages.
Like what?
Well, you've got the power of search. Imagine being able to instantly locate any idea or piece of information you've captured. Then there's the ease of sharing, automatic backups, the ability to edit and link ideas together, not to mention syncing across all your
It's
devices.
like combining the best of both worlds, the accessibility of a physical notebook with the power and flexibility of digital tools.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is you can choose the apps and tools that best suit your needs and preferences. There's a whole ecosystem out there constantly evolving and improving.
Our source talks about Camille, who co-founded a startup focused on designing charging stations for electric vehicles. She uses her second brain to organize research, especially those clunky PDF reports.
Ugh, PDFs, the bane of researchers everywhere.
Right. But by importing key findings into her note-taking app, she can annotate them, add her own thoughts, and access that distilled knowledge whenever she needs it.
So it's about making that information work for her instead of being limited by the original format.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about materializing ideas. Now let's move on to the first step in the code method, capturing. This is about intentionally saving information that resonates with you.
And this is where we want to ask you, the learner, a question. How are you currently dealing with all the content you consume? Articles, podcasts, videos, all of it.
Are you saving everything just in case? Maybe you've become a bit of a digital hoarder, or maybe you're at the other end of the spectrum, and this whole idea of intentionally capturing information is completely new to you.
Wherever you are, this first step is crucial. It's about being selective, thoughtful about what you choose to keep.
Our source recommends using note-taking apps for individual use. They're great for capturing snippets, quotes, thoughts, all in one place.
And to help you decide what's actually worth saving, he introduces this framework inspired by Richard Feynman, the physicist.
Feynman, what's the connection there?
Well, Feynman always kept a list of his 12 favorite problems in the back of his mind, and whenever he encountered a new idea or technique, he'd test it against those problems.
Like a mental filter for new information.
Precisely. It helped him focus on what truly mattered, to see connections and applications he might have otherwise missed.
I love that. It's about having guiding questions, a sense of purpose, even when you're just exploring.
And our author shares this personal anecdote about his childhood ambition to build this epic Lego spaceship. The question that drove him, how does creativity emerge from chaos, that still informs how he organizes information today.
That's so cool. It's like a core question from his childhood is still shaping his approach to knowledge as an adult.
And on a more practical level, he suggests building a collection of inspiring quotes, photos, ideas, anything that sparks your imagination. Think of it as a well of inspiration to draw from when you need a creative boost.
I love that. Like a digital mood board for your mind.
Exactly. And he even mentions his own folder of client testimonials that he revisits whenever he needs a reminder of the impact of his work.
Oh, that's a good one. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and lose sight of the bigger picture.
Right. And speaking of losing things, let's not forget the Wayback Machine, that amazing project that archives websites over time. It's a lifesaver when you need to find something that's disappeared from the web.
It's like a time machine for the internet. So we've got note-taking apps, the Wayback Machine, anything else we should be aware of for capturing.
Well, there are tons of other capture tools out there. Browser extensions for clipping articles, specialized apps for different types of content, you name it. It's like having an extended nervous system for gathering information.
But the key is to consolidate your best discoveries in your main note-taking app, right? Don't let those valuable insights get scattered across a million different places.
Exactly. Keep it centralized. Keep it organized. Now, here's something interesting. You're actually more likely to remember something if you write it down in your own words. It's called the generation effect.
So it's not just about storing information. It's about actively engaging with it, processing it through writing.
Right. And the act of writing itself can have a positive impact on our well-being. Studies have shown that expressive writing, even if no one else reads it, can reduce stress, boost the immune system, even improve academic performance.
That's amazing. So putting our thoughts into words can actually make us healthier.
It really can. And the source highlights Twyla Tharp, the choreographer, and her box method. For every project, she starts by gathering all sorts of things, notes, articles, music, photos, and putting them in a physical box.
Like a physical manifestation of her project, a container for her ideas.
Exactly. And she always starts with a clear objective, a mantra that goes in the box first. It helps her stay focused as the project evolves.
It's another example of that externalizing principle. Okay, so we've captured our information. What's next?
Organizing for actionability. And here's where the array system comes in. Projects, areas, resources, and archive.
So it's not just about being tidy, it's about organizing our knowledge in a way that supports action, that helps us get things done.
Exactly. The goal isn't to become a note-taking champion, it's to make progress on our projects and goals.
Our source brings up Francis Ford Coppola and how he managed the production of The Godfather. He used a Bible, essentially a prompt book, to capture and refine the source material.
And that Bible went beyond just storing information. It became the central hub for his creative process, transforming the novel into a cinematic masterpiece.
That's a great example of how a well-organized system can facilitate creativity, not stifle it. Okay, so we've captured and organized. What's next in the CODA method?
Distilling. This is about finding the essence of the information you've gathered. It's about making sure you can actually find and use what you've saved when you need it.
Discoverability. It's so important. What good is having a ton of information if you can't quickly find the key takeaways?
Right. And a simple but effective way to improve discoverability is highlighting. Just mark those key passages as you're reading. Almost every note-taking app has this feature.
It's a classic technique for a reason.
Yeah.
It works. And here's a helpful mindset shift. Think of your future self as your most demanding client.
Demanding client.
Yeah, they need information quickly, concisely. They don't have time to wade through pages of notes. So your job is to make it easy for them to find what they need.
I like that. Treat your future self with respect. Give them the VIP treatment.
Exactly. Our source gives an example of capturing and highlighting an article from Psychology Today using a Read Later app that syncs with a note-taking app.
So you can save the article, highlight it later, and those highlights get saved directly to your notes with a link back to the source.
Seamless. And he tells this great story about how he was on a panel discussion and needed to quickly reference a note to explain an unfamiliar term. Having that distilled information ready to go made all the difference.
It's like having a secret weapon in your back pocket, ready to deploy when you need it most.
Totally. And we get more examples of capturing key points from articles and even personal conversations, like getting advice on setting up a home studio.
It shows how these techniques can be applied to all kinds of real-life situations.
Now, our source uses this fascinating analogy to explain the process of distillation. Picasso's bull drawings.
Bull drawings.
Yeah, Picasso did this series of sketches where he started with a very detailed image of a bull. Then, with each subsequent drawing, he simplified, removing elements, until he was left with just a few lines that still perfectly captured the essence of the bull.
Wow, that's a great visual. It's like stripping away the unnecessary to reveal the core, the essential truth.
Exactly. And it highlights that distillation isn't just about summarizing, it's about understanding. It's about internalizing the information so deeply that you can express it in its simplest, most powerful form.
And it's not always easy, especially when you're starting out. There are a few common pitfalls to watch out for. Over-highlighting is one. It's tempting to highlight everything, hoping it'll all stick.
But that defeats the purpose, right? It's like not highlighting anything at all.
Exactly. Another mistake is highlighting without a clear purpose or question in mind. You need to be actively thinking about what's important, what you want to remember and use later.
And then there's forgetting to actually reread your highlights. Highlighting is just the first step. Revisiting those key passages helps solidify your understanding and makes them more accessible in your memory.
Our source recommends something called progressive summarization. Basically, with each layer of highlighting or summarizing, you reduce the amount of text by about 80–90%. It's a way to prevent over-highlighting and focus on the truly essential points.
And here's the key takeaway. Distillation should happen when you're preparing to create something, not just passively consuming information. It's about making knowledge actionable.
Because in the moment of creation, you don't want to be bogged down with research. You want to be able to draw on your distilled knowledge and insights to create something new, something valuable.
Our source tells this story about Octavia Butler, the science fiction author. She started writing because she couldn't find the kinds of stories she wanted to read.
That's inspiring. It's like saying, if you can't find what you're looking for, create it yourself.
Exactly. And Butler was a meticulous archivist of her own life. She saved everything, diaries, notes, even grocery lists. It's a testament to the potential value of capturing our experiences, even the seemingly mundane ones.
And she used her writing as a way to overcome her own self-doubt, to tap into her unique experiences and perspective. It's a powerful reminder that our knowledge and insights are valuable, and that sharing them can have a real impact.
Okay, we've covered capturing and distilling. Now let's briefly touch upon the third step in the code method, organizing. And this is where the PRA system comes back into play.
Right. Those four categories, projects, areas, resources, and archive, provide a framework for organizing your distilled information based on its actionability.
So it's about aligning your knowledge with your goals, making it work for you.
Precisely. And now for something completely different, we're going to explore how all of this connects to the world of Butoh dance.
Butoh dance. Okay, this should be interesting.
We'll be drawing from Michael Homblow's thesis, Special Effects, Compositing Images in the Bodies of Butoh, to explore this connection.
So what's the link between Butoh and building a second brain?
Well, it starts with the concept of Butoh-fu, often translated as Butoh score. Our source describes it as a system for physicalizing images through words.
Physicalizing images.
Yeah, it's about embodying images, allowing those images to influence and transform the body. Think of it as capturing and externalizing internal feelings and ideas through movement, much like we capture thoughts as notes.
So it's like a way for Butoh dancers to externalize their inner world through their physical form.
Exactly. And a key difference between traditional Western choreography and Butoh-fu is that while Western methods often use very specific symbols and notation to dictate movements, Butoh-fu uses words that are more open to interpretation.
It's less about precise steps and more about evoking feelings and imagery.
Right. We get an example. A dwarf runs on the back, a grasshopper on the left foot. The goal isn't to literally mimic those creatures, but to allow those images to create an internal diagram of intensity within the dancer's body.
It's about translating abstract concepts into physical sensations and expressions.
And we're introduced to Tatsumi Hijikata, a pivotal figure in the development of Butoh. His early performance, Kinjiki, Forbidden Colors, caused quite a stir because it explored themes that were considered taboo at the time.
Taboo themes.
Yeah, things like homosexual love, perversity, the grotesque. He was actually expelled from the Japan Dance Association because of it.
Wow, that's pushing boundaries.
But this controversy also brought him to the attention of Yukio Mishima, the famous novelist.
So even negative attention can sometimes have positive consequences.
Right. And Hijikata's concept of the rebellion of the body is central to Butoh. It's about challenging established norms, expressing something deeper, more primal.
Our source actually includes images of Hijikata in his performance, and his movements are so striking, so unconventional. It's really about pushing the boundaries of what's considered acceptable in dance.
This idea of rebellion, of pushing boundaries, connects to the philosophical concept of the Butobo, or body without organs. It's about stripping away expectations and allowing for new, unexpected movements to emerge.
So it's like saying, forget the rules, let's see what the body can really do.
Exactly. And our source introduces the face model, fossilization, accumulation, condensation, evacuation as a way to understand the Butobo. It's described as a self-affecting mechanism.
And here's where we start to see those intriguing parallels with building a second brain.
Right. Think about it. We capture ideas, accumulation, we refine and summarize them, condensation, we use them to create something new, evacuation, and we preserve them in our archive for future use, fossilization.
It's like the same process is happening, but in different realms, the mental and the physical.
And the Butoh concepts of the dead body and the hollow body also resonate with this idea of externalization. The dead body is inhabited by dying gestures. The hollow body is moved by external forces.
So it's like taking those internal states, those feelings and impulses, and translating them into outward expressions.
Exactly. And there are even metaphors like the windaruma, a doll moved by the wind, and the hitogata, a puppet, to illustrate how the Butoh body can be influenced by external forces.
It's like how a second brain, filled with knowledge and insights, can guide our actions and creative decisions.
Now, if we look at Deleuze's concept of the movement image from film theory, we can see Butoh as a kind of crisis of the action image.
Crisis of the action image.
It's about moving away from a focus on linear, goal-oriented movement towards a more fragmented internal exploration of sensation and being.
So it's like saying it's not just about getting from point A to point B, it's about the experience of the journey itself.
Exactly. And Deleuze's time image, which connects to the Japanese concept of yami darkness representing shapeless, constantly changing time, also resonates with the nonlinear nature of a second brain. Ideas can emerge and connect in unexpected ways.
It's about embracing the unpredictable, the serendipitous nature of creativity.
And the crystal image, where the actual and virtual merge, reflects how a second brain can bridge the gap between abstract ideas and concrete projects.
It's about making those ideas real, bringing them to life in the world.
Finally, there's ma, the Japanese concept of in-between space, and magusare, the rotten interval, which suggest a focus on the potential that exists in the spaces between things.
It's like saying the most interesting stuff often happens in the gaps, the transitions, the unexpected connections.
Exactly. And that brings us to the fourth and final step in the code method, expressing. This is where you take all that you've captured, distilled, and organized, and you create something new, something valuable.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Oh.
It's about putting your knowledge and insights into action.
Our source gives an example of Rebecca, a psychology professor, who uses her notes to create programs and presentations, even with a super busy schedule.
It's about finding ways to integrate your second brain into your workflow, making it work for you.
Exactly.
Huh.
And he uses this cool analogy from the world of model making, kit bashing. It's about taking existing parts from different models and combining them to create something new and unique.
So it's like creative repurposing, building on what already exists.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of intermediate packets, or IPs. These are the building blocks for larger projects, the reusable components that can be combined and recombined in different ways.
And a well-maintained second brain is the perfect place to store and organize those IPs.
Right. The key question to ask is, how can I obtain or assemble these components efficiently instead of starting from scratch every time?
He gives an example of repurposing materials from past conferences, agendas, emails, designs to create a new event. It's about leveraging what you've already created.
And the core idea is that we all have these intermediate packets in some form. Your second brain just helps you manage them more intentionally and effectively.
And don't underestimate the power of serendipity. Sometimes the most valuable insights come from those unexpected connections you stumble upon while exploring your notes.
It's about cultivating a mindset of curiosity and openness to new possibilities.
And remember, creative expression isn't always about self-promotion. It can also be about sharing your knowledge and insights with others, helping them see things in new ways.
It's about making a positive impact, however big or small.
Our source offers some helpful strategies for the expressing phase. Archipelago of Ideas is about creating a focused collection of points for a specific output. Hemingway's Bridge is about ending your writing session mid-sentence to create a clear starting point for next time. And Scope Reduction is about setting a timer and working on a project using only your existing notes, resisting the urge to do more research.
It's about getting something out there, getting feedback, and iterating.
And maintaining that balance between structure and creative flow is key. Organization shouldn't stifle creativity. It should support it.
A pre-mortem checklist at the start of a project can help you anticipate challenges and set yourself up for success. And the project completion checklist helps you reflect on what worked well and what could be improved.
And don't forget the weekly review. It's a way to keep your system running smoothly, to stay on top of your goals and priorities.
We often assume that our brains can handle everything, but that's just not realistic in today's world. We need to offload some of that mental burden so we can focus on the things that truly matter.
By delegating to a second brain, we free up mental space for creativity, for deep thinking, for the things that make us human.
And remember, even the most ambitious goals are made up of smaller pieces. Every idea, every experience has the potential to contribute to something greater.
It's about trusting the process, trusting the system you've built, and allowing yourself to let go of that need to control everything.
And as we accumulate knowledge, there's this natural desire to share it, to help others benefit from it.
Because knowledge is meant to be shared, right? It grows and evolves through that process.
And all of this comes back to that personal story of the author finding his voice and overcoming a health challenge through the power of knowledge and organization.
It's a reminder that this isn't just about productivity, it's about personal growth, about finding your place in the world and making a difference.
And to bring it back to Feynman's 12 favorite problems, we encourage you to identify those core questions that drive you, the questions that spark you curiosity and fuel your learning.
Let those questions be your guide as you build your own second brain, your own personal knowledge system.
So to sum it all up, a second brain is a powerful tool for navigating the information age. It helps you capture, distill, organize, and express your knowledge and insights in a way that supports your goals and unleashes your creativity.
And what's truly fascinating is how these same principles resonate with something as seemingly different as Buto dance. It's about externalizing, organizing, and transforming whether it's thoughts into notes or internal images into physical movements.
And as a final thought, we challenge you to consider how these principles might apply to a specific area of your life or a problem you're facing. How might building a second brain help you find new solutions, new perspectives, new ways of expressing yourself, just like Hijikata challenged conventions and pushed boundaries with Buto?
We encourage you to check out the resources mentioned in this deep dive, which you can find at buildinggassetbrain.com/workstate resources, and start building your own second brain, your own bicycle for the mind. It might just be the key to unlocking your full creative potential and navigating the complexities of the modern world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.